Welcome to the WVU Football Sports Chat. I'm Todd Murray, along with WVU football beat writer Ed Owens. And Ed, the Mountaineers will head off to College Park this weekend to play the Maryland Terrapins. Last year, they went to Baltimore to play Maryland. Not a good memory for the Mountaineers. It was 37-0 and all Maryland, and you hear words like embarrassment, even quite a bit out of the players and coaches this week.
Absolutely, yeah. I think they're looking forward to the change of scenery. Baltimore wasn't too kind to them last year. Cold, wet, embarrassing loss. They got their quarterback hurt. It was Shannon Dawson today called it a perfect storm, literally and figuratively, in terms of that Maryland game. A lot of things went wrong for WVU, and that memory is pretty fresh. The guys didn't forget that. That was, I know WVU bounced back the following week and beat Oklahoma State, but the Maryland loss was really the first sign of serious trouble for this WVU team last year. And the guys remember it. They're talking about getting payback. They're saying how, yes, of course you want to learn from the game and build on it, and you want to win every game, but I think they have a little extra something behind their motivation heading into this week's game against the Terrapins.
Yeah, this is one of the few regional rivalries left on the schedule, and obviously they recruit a lot in that Washington, D.C. area, and a lot of those kids that are going to be watching this game.
Absolutely. Maryland has been a hotbed for WVU locally. They got Tavon Austin from Maryland. They just got William Crest, their quarterback, from Maryland, same high school as Tavon. So, yeah, I think they want to go in there and put on a good show, and they know what's at stake. This has always kind of been a barometer for the season. I know it's kind of cliche at this point. We talk about it every year, but how the Maryland game goes usually dictates how the rest of the season's going to go. Last year, 37-0, and you saw how the rest of the season played out, 4-8 and missed a bowl game. So I think they're putting a lot more stock in this than they're letting on.
Right. The Mountaineers got their first win against another Maryland school, Towson, this past Saturday, 54-0. Put up some outrageous numbers, 606 yards of offense. Stood out, obviously. What did they really learn from this game?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. It was a great game, and the defense had a shutout. The offense put up 54 points, and like you said, a pile of yards. But it was Towson. We said it before the game. We said it after the game. We're saying it now. It was Towson. I don't think you can read too much into any of those numbers. And WVU's players and coaches would tell you the same thing. They're happy with the result. I think they're confident because of it. They had a lot of things going well. The biggest takeaway, and Dana Holgorsen mentioned it in his press conference this week, was defensively. They pulled the starters after, I think he said 25 snaps. So the starting defense wasn't on the field for very long. So the fact that the second and third string defenses were in there, able to preserve that shutout, keep it going, I think that's probably the most positive sign. But in terms of what the offense was able to do and what the starting defense was able to do, it's really more or less what we expected them to do. So I think heading into Maryland, we're going to see really how far this team has come since that opener against Alabama.
WVU secondary is going to get tested this week. Maryland has three very good receivers in Dion Long, Marcus Leak, and Stephon Diggs. They're going to be throwing the ball. Do you think the Mountaineers secondary is up to the challenge?
Yeah, that's going to be the big defensive question heading into this game. You saw it in the opener with Amari Cooper for Alabama, and he got his numbers. He really gave WVU secondary a hard time. Against Towson, they weren't really slinging the ball all over the field. They were, I think, trying to keep their head down, water down offense, get out of that game, and get home safely. But you're going to see Maryland test this secondary. C.J. Brown is a mobile quarterback, but he's got an arm too. As you mentioned, they've got a trio of wide receivers who can really stretch the field, and they are going to take some shots. I think WVU's secondary is up to this challenge. I think coming out of that Alabama game, maybe some pride was hurt. They didn't like the way that they played. They gave up a lot of yards through the air. And talking to a guy like Darryl Worley, he's kind of licking his chops to be able to get out there and maybe redeem himself a little bit against Maryland.
And this is just the start of really what the secondary is going to see through Big 12 play. Those schools are known for having a lot of great wide receivers.
Absolutely. Dana Holgorsen said as much in his press conference this week. Asked about Maryland and how they're going to cover those receivers. He said, better get used to it. This is the new normal in the Big 12. As good as Maryland's guys are, that's pretty much par for the course in the Big 12. Every team has good receivers. Every team is going to take their shots. Every team is going to test you. So again, as we said, the game is a barometer for the season. How WVU secondary does against Maryland is really going to give you a good idea of what's to come in these next few weeks against Big 12 opponents.
As good as Clint Trickett was Saturday night, there was a buzz in the stands there at Milan Puskar Stadium when Liam Crest came in. The game was out of hand at that point, but the fans have heard so much about this kid, and they were excited, to see him out there.
Absolutely, and with good reason. He's a versatile quarterback. He can do multiple things for you. Really can get in there, run that read option, run the ball. Didn't get to see too much. Obviously, up 40-0, I believe, when Crest entered the game. They kept the playbook restricted, and getting to talk to offensive coordinator Shannon Dawson, I'd expect that to continue. They have a lot of confidence in Crest. They wouldn't have put him in if they didn't. That said, he's young. He's only been here since the summer, and there's a lot of room for him to grow. When he gets in there, you're not going to see them open up the whole playbook. And really, I wouldn't anticipate him seeing a lot more of the field unless you get in a situation like they did against Towson, where it's a complete blowout. Clint Trickett is the #1 quarterback. He is your starter. He is going to be in there with the game on the line. I don't see them putting the ball in Crest's hands and leaving it up to a freshman. But it was a great debut, and Baltimore kid is going to have a chance to head to Maryland and hopefully have an impact again this week.
Right. As always, Ed, appreciate your time, and please continue to follow our WVU football coverage on the Deep Post.